Hello, everyone. We are live. Thanks for being here. So we got a great show for you tonight, and you're really going to enjoy this. Welcome to another edition of Inhumanoids Live. I'm your host, Bart Nunley. Sitting here beside me once again is my beautiful wife, Letitia.
Hi, guys.
Thank you all for your prayers. They really did the job. Also with us tonight, as always, the lovely ladies from the Blondes and Booze, Krista Michael Tweedy and Hollywood Brandy Butcher. Hi, girls. How you doing tonight?
We're good. How are you?
Oh, we're good. We're good.
Doing all right. Went back to work today, so I'm here.
Sound better for sure.
I'm just here.
Yes, you do sound
I
better.
can tell you still look a little sickly, and that's not an insult or anything, but
I know I'm pale.
you are.
Yeah.
You are.
No,
You definitely sound better than you did all week
Oh,
long. I've talked to you every day, and
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
you ladies look beautiful tonight.
cleared up a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, so we're going to start off with, as usual, we're going to, Letitia's going to go through the prayer
real
list.
quick, Letitia.
Uh-huh.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but there's a prayer request right here from Gary Spike Senior. He said, "Y'all please remember Crystal J in your prayers." So I don't know what
Okay.
that's
We
about. Will
will.
you add her to the list, please?
I will do it right now.
Thank you.
Crystal J. Everyone say a prayer for Crystal J. And we have a special birthday. I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way while she's writing. It's to little Miss Elena Catherine Smith. She's from Cherokee, North Carolina. She turns 9 years old today, and she's a member of the Eastern Band Cherokee Nation. Shio, Elena, Oshigwotsu, to you, dear. I hope you're watching. Shiji, for watching. And we're proud to have you here. If your dad, Jimmy, will send me y'all's address, I will send you a birthday present, Letitia, and I will send you a present. So happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Little Miss
birthday.
Elena, happy birthday.
Happy
Okay, honey,
birthday.
you ready?
Yes. We'd like to just also say happy birthday for the February birthdays to Scott Warrens and Sue G. So their birthdays are,
Guys.
they're
Happy
not
birthday.
they're just this month, and I'm going to try to call out everybody's birthday on the month so I don't miss anybody.
And I don't know, is it Sue G or Sue Gee?
Sue G.
Sue
She's already
G.
told me.
Okay.
Sue
Well,
G.
I'm a little bit older than you, Letitia. My memory's not quite as good as yours.
All right. We're going to go through this prayer list. And please, guys, I would love everybody just to say all the prayers you can for these folks. They really
Please.
need it. If there was some that came in today, I'm sorry I didn't get it. I was at work today and I was not able to be on my phone. It's illegal for me to be on my phone where I work. So sorry I couldn't get to it. And I just came in the door. So prayers, guys, for Daryl Denton. He's been, he has COVID. So we need to pray for Daryl Denton, Crystal J, Nick Redfern's dad,
Mr. Redford.
BMR, Jimmy Ruger, General Richard Freimeyer. Thank you for your service, General Richard Freimeyer.
Yes, thank you. sir.
Mickey G and son Brandon, Arnie, Krista Tweedy and her family, Brandy Butcher and her family, Vic and Veer Gulati, Sam Burton, Trey Hood, Mark Staten, Sherry Griffey, Phil Stern. Hope your hand's doing better, Phil.
Yeah, brother.
John and Amy Long, Josh and Nellie Turner and the PRT family, Scott's life's daughter Megan, and Cowboy 4572's wife Cindy. Hope you guys are all doing better, and I do apologize if I missed anybody today.
You know, I have to tell you something. So the last couple times I've got a friend that's watched your show, and she messaged, well, we talked about it this morning, and she said that you're the only show that she watches out there that you do the prayer request, and she thinks that is cool as crap.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, that you guys do that. She's like, you know, and she watches a lot of stuff from like weird farming things to, you know, these kind of shows. And she said that you are the only channel that does that, and she appreciates that. So
We appreciate her watching it.
Let me also add that I believe her name was Mindy Schrock, who
Yes.
asked for an unspoken prayer request,
Mindy
if
Schrock.
I remember correctly.
you are correct, because I still had it wrote down here from
Okay.
last time.
I can't believe I remembered that.
Oh, you remember?
Good.
Good. Yeah, so before we get started and bring our guest in, I just want to remind everybody, please, if you're a subscriber, please check to make sure that you're still subscribed. You might be surprised to find that you're not, and it's not me doing this. It's the platform, okay?
Mhm.
Don't allow people like me and Tisha and the Blondes and Booze. They don't allow us to grow very fast. It maybe an inch at a time instead of leaps and bounds. Okay, so make sure you still subscribe and hit that notification button. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And if you like the content and you like what we're doing here, providing the truth for everybody and not some AI generated fiction, please hit the like button and share with your friends. Okay, it's the only way this channel is going to defeat what's going on. The dreaded algorithm is set against us. So please help us out. Hit that like button if you like the content and share it. Okay.
And also,
Thanks
if you
very
have
much.
questions, please put them on all in caps. We don't see them if they're not in caps. So please, if you have a question, all in caps. Do we want to do the
Okay.
Alabama
Yes, let's
conference
go
real
ahead
quick?
and
Brandy, take it away.
All right. This is, of course, June 7th and 8th. June 7th, we are having a dinner, and unfortunately, all reservations for the seating in our room is now gone. But if you'd still like to come have dinner, you can come in and mingle. Nobody's going to have a problem with that. On the 8th, we do have a great speaker lineup. We have Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Barton Groves, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, Blondes and Booze, Daryl Denton, and of course, Barton Nunley. Our MC for the day is Tex Wesson. And again, this is at the Anniston Performing Arts Center in Anniston, Alabama. If you're looking for hotel rooms, there are no hotels in Anniston itself, but they are in Oxford, which is just a like 5-minute drive from there. And don't worry, all the hotels are located in this one little area, so you can actually walk from hotel to hotel through the parking lot. So
Yep.
never fear, just get your hotel room and we'll see you there.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much.
Come see us for sure.
Come see
yes,
us.
come see us. We're going to have a good time. We always do at these conferences. I don't do very many. In fact, this is my only,
Yeah.
it's going to be my third one and might be my last one. So come out and see us. We're going to have a good time. And I'm going to bring up our guest now. It's a guy that you've seen, young man you've seen in all of our chats very often. He's a loyal listener to all of this little truther group that we have going on here. So let's bring him up. Fisher of Spam.
Hello.
Hello, Fisher.
Hey everybody, what's up?
Hey,
How are ya?
Hey there.
How you doing tonight, bro?
Doing better than I deserve, man.
Good. That's always good to hear. Well, thank you so much and your wife for talking you into doing this. So I read your email last week, and everyone is abuzz about all the paranormal experiences that you've had. So for anyone that might not know you, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself, how old you are, your family or whatever, what you do for a living.
Sure. So, let's see here. Where do I begin? I am a welder professionally. Usually when I'm on you guys' chats, I'm at work. So I get a little bit of free time there at times, but
Yeah.
let's see here. I enjoy long walks on the beach. I'm not really
Well,
much
we all.
into having fun in sand dunes or drinking pina coladas, but
Right.
other than that, I'm kind of a hopeless romantic and a very boring person, really.
Right. And you love 70s music, I take it.
It's okay. More of into metal, but
No, yeah, me too. Believe
gotta
me.
be cute.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. And
Yeah, man.
let's get started, Fisher, by telling us a little bit about your family.
All right. So,
Your family history, I know they've all had a lot of paranormal experiences.
yep, strangely enough, man, it seems to come from both sides, like on my father's side, it's um, the earliest story that I am aware of from him and his side is that when he was young and his sisters and I think their older brother, they all they were all sleeping in one bedroom at that time, and it would be probably in the 50s, I believe, in Abroni, Alabama. And so the story, according to my aunt, is that they were basically all asleep. One night, some big old large green hand starts reaching through their window, and that's where she was sleeping at, and it reaches down, picks her up by the gown or the neck of her gown, and starts
Wow.
lifting her off the bed. And she's sitting there just like dangling in midair. Everybody's awake and freaked out and not saying anything. And eventually she just can't handle it anymore, and she screams bloody murder, and the thing drops her.
Green, you said it was green, right?
Yes, it was green. That is the story
That's
to
unusual.
awareness. Yes. I don't know what that is. I mean, I don't have the slightest idea, but I mean, even though she's in her 60s, man, she still has a very vivid memory of it. And,
Yeah, I bet she does.
yeah, it affected her a lot. She don't really like to talk about it much, but she's
A lot of people, yeah, a lot of people don't like to talk about these things, but it's the only way that we can help people is by telling what we experienced, and sharing it, and
Yeah.
that helps to teach people, and that helps people, and that's all we can do when it comes to this type of stuff.
right.
So thank you for being brave enough to come on and do this, and thanks for messaging me. I know it took me a while to get back to you, but I
Oh,
did call you and get you lined out. I'm glad that I did.
it's no big deal, man. People are busy, and sometimes it's hard to understand for folks out there. But you guys have so much going on, and y'all just be patient with them. I swear they'll get to you, and I swear that these are good people. But anyways, so as time goes on, from their side of the story, to my knowledge, the next step that I'm aware of for them would be one of my uncles, and I guess his friends or his other family members or whatever. I'm not exactly clear on all that, but anyways, I know the story. So they're out there coon hunting in South Ohio,
Yeah.
and they're out there with a bunch of coon dogs, and they're going looking around. Coons take off, or the dogs take off and go after what they assume is a coon. And they start hearing crazy noises, and all of a sudden the dogs just come running back. They don't stop at them or nothing. They just keep on hauling to the truck, and they're just baffled, like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, the screaming and noises that they're hearing is just keeping on and keeping on, getting closer and closer, and they're like, what is out there? And all of a sudden they see it, and they take off to the truck themselves. And to my knowledge, I mean, I don't know if they saw a Bigfoot or whatever, but they just said it was a big old red thing, and they said it was the devil. So, I mean, that's open to interpretation.
Right. So, did they give you any more details as to where it had covered with red hair, or it was red skin, or
They just said it was red.
you think of the devil, you don't think of a Bigfoot, right?
Yeah, I mean, they just said it was red. And knowing what little I know about Ohio, I mean, that's the only thing that I can figure logically. But for all I know, heck, maybe it was some kind of classical demon-looking thing. I don't know.
Right.
And then after that, the next thing that I can think of would be my same uncle saw. He called it a chupacabra. I mean, I guess we know it now as a blue dog, I guess is what you would say.
Mm-hmm.
Saw one of those on his tractor when he was now living here in Crossville, and he stopped and was like, "Oh my gosh, what is that? That doesn't look right at all." And then he said it turned around, looked at him, and started running, and strangely just disappeared. I don't know if a blue dog can do that, but that's a story.
Blue dogs cannot disappear right in front of your eyes. I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and the chupacabra, El Chupacabra.
Yeah.
It has morphed over the last 3 decades from a alien type creature with spiny protrusions along the back into any kind of canid with sarcoptic mange. They call it
Right.
the El Chupacabra, but
Yeah.
it started out something very different than that, and kind of it's not what it used to be.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the description he gave up to me didn't really sound like any blue dog that I've ever heard of. I mean, I've seen one myself here.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I mean, I didn't feel nothing scary or anything about it. I mean, I thought
Right.
it was pretty big to be a coyote, the one that I saw, but I digress. It was on the farm, and there's too much craziness out there, so who knows?
Right. Well, I saw one last summer with a buddy of mine walking by one of the creeks, and we were so stunned by seeing this thing. It didn't have any hair on it.
Yeah.
We thought it was a coyote at first, then we realized that it wasn't. It was too healthy looking to be a coyote, and it had no fur or hair, and it was a really, really dark skinned creature. And we must have talked about it for 20 or 30 seconds before I ever even got the notion to take out my phone and take a picture. And of course, by the time I got my phone out, it already took off down the creek and disappeared around the next curve. So
Yeah.
there was that. First one I've ever seen here in Henderson, Kentucky, though. So
Hmm.
tell us a little bit about I know your family, your mom in particular.
Yeah.
She's
Yep.
had some experiences with the UFO uh, phenomena.
So on the mother's side of the family, the stories that I'm most aware of are, just little things from her. She's saying staying the summers with her grandparents, I believe, maybe her uncle. I don't really remember quite. But anyways, they were in Detroit-ish area, right there off Lake Erie, and they would see UFOs, on the regular, coming in and out of the Lake Erie. So
Yeah.
she was very familiar with that. Um, let's see here. My cousin now, I believe this happened in Michigan as well. I'm not 100% certain. But when he was young, he had interactions with what he described to me as basically a gray alien. And he said that its name was Feather, and that, every so often it would get his attention in the middle of the night and basically come out of a mirror.
Wow.
And they would go off and do whatever. He said his memory on that is a little shaky. He doesn't really know. He just remembers them coming out and then them being friends, and then everything's just kind of blank from there. But the weird thing about it was, once he moved and they moved that dresser out of the way, there was a feather that was underneath that dresser. So, I don't really have a good explanation for that. But
Right.
apparently that
Were they
thing's
the
there.
typical alien grays or something else? Did he say?
Yeah, he said little gray guy. He said
Yeah.
typical alien gray is what. That's the way he described it to me.
Right. And you had a UFO flap nearby in Fife, right?
Yes, sir. So I don't know how many of the listeners got to go and check out the last video where you read the emails and everything and followed that breadcrumb trail to see about the 5 UFO flap. It happened in the late 80s to the early 90s, to my knowledge. And at one time, I mean, Fife was listed as the UFO capital of the world or something like that. I mean, that's how much it was
Really?
off. Yeah. And so, I mean, it was very common knowledge. All kind of people were seeing it. It was talked about daily. There was no stigma about it whatsoever. Um, Basically, a lot of cows ended up becoming mutilated after the fact, or not after the fact, but during it. I don't remember at what point in the timeline of it, but I mean, the majority of that information you can find from the official story from Greg Oliphant III. He's got a website. He was the police officer of Fife who was tasked by the Alabama Cattlemen Association to do the investigation on it. Now, from what I understand, from actually knowing the chief of police of Fife at that time, a lot of things were not done according to code or regulation. They would come in there and gather some evidence, but mess up the entire crime scene. And I know that he was not exactly thrilled with the way that was investigated. And I've got that from his mouth. So, and in the official story in the timeline, he also has an experience, and I got to talk to him about it. And he said that he was, I think, in the ballpark or something like that, hanging out, and all of a sudden, he knows there was something above him. He turns on the spotlight to his car and shines it up and starts standing up and, his mag light or whatever, and trying to figure out what in the world's going on out there or above him or whatnot. And in his description, he said it was like a B-2 bomber, the whole triangle flying wing shaped thing. But the problem with it is it's sitting there hovering above him, completely silent. And once he got another light out there on him, and was sitting there like wondering what's he seeing. it basically turns on its thrusters, knocks into the ground, and takes off. Now, that's his version of the story. And when I asked him about it and pressed him on it, he was unwavering. He was unwilling to accept anything else about it. And I told him what had happened to my father-in-law, and he was just like silent and a little bit angry, I guess you could say. So I don't know what was going on, but after that part of the story came up, he didn't want to hang around the kid's birthday party and wanted to leave. So we didn't really get to talk much about it after the fact. So I don't know. But either way, he's still alive and he's a good dude. But as the story goes, they're doing stakeouts and everything, collecting their data and whatnot, and eventually they get a tip off about something that's going on, and they go out there and see it. They see an unmarked black helicopter, and they follow it all the way to Anniston Army Depot. All the time being on the radio, trying to hail the air traffic control and all that, and they're not getting any, feedback from them saying that there's even anything out there. And to this day, to my knowledge, from the last update that I saw from him before he passed, there's, they never gave an official answer to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know the reason why. So, as far as that goes now, we'll go on to what was happening around the wife's side of the family, what was going on with them. So, I think they had one or two cows that came up mutilated during that time. They weren't exactly thrilled about that, but cows die. It's a fact of life. When you grow cows. So,
Yeah.
but it became more when the wife's father, one night, is coming home from work. He's, for whatever reason, driving on the next dirt road over from where they live. I'm not sure of why, but he was coming back that way, and he goes by his cousin's house, and he notices a light in the pasture. And his first thought was, oh no, because his combine or tractor or whatever is broke down. I better go out there, see if he needs help. Maybe I need to call Dad and have him come out here and help us. What's wrong with Gus? Let's go figure it out. So he parks, starts walking down there, and realizes this is no tractor. This is just a light in the field. And he's like, oh my God, it's one of these UFOs that's on the news. So, and his exact words to me were, well, how many times in life do you get to see a UFO? So he walks on out there and gets right up to it, goes to touch it, and according to him, it shoots out a beam of light, hits him in the head, and he's out. Doesn't wake up to the next morning.
Wow. The UFO actually shot him in the head, right?
Right. So obviously he's pretty freaked out about this when he comes to in the middle of the at some point in time in the morning, he's in the middle of a field. And he remembers everything that happens, freaks out, and runs straight to Daddy. I don't know why he didn't go home, but he went to his dad's.
Yeah.
Everything that goes on, and Dad tells him, well, I hate that happened to you, man, but do your best to be calm, don't freak out. I'll handle it for you. He's like, handle it? How on earth are you going to handle this? I know that you're my dad and you're my superhero, but how are you going to do this? He's like, don't worry about it. I'll get it handled. Okay. So, needless to say, his father was a very important person in the military. He was a very important person at the Anniston Army Depot and Redstone Arsenal. And it just to kind of prove how important of a person he is, he had his own helicopter crew that flew him back and forth between the bases multiple times a day. So he's important, So apparently, from what I've been able to kind of glean, because granted, the man, he would not talk about any of the things that he did. He wouldn't talk about any of it. He was very secretive, and if you would ask him questions, he'd get very upset. So it's hard to glean the information from him. Most of this part of the story that I have comes from his son. Okay. So apparently he goes and talks to some people. that he works with, lets them know what's going on, and they're like, all right, well, let's get this took care of. And from then on, you can see in the official timeline of the events that things start changing. You're no longer seeing necessarily UFOs, but you're seeing black unmarked helicopters. And that coincides with what Mr. Oliphant and his little friend, said in their story. That they followed all the way to Anniston Army Depot. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, and from then on, he would tell people, "Hey, don't go out to the farm tonight. They're going to be out there doing reconnaissance missions." They're like, "Who?" The military. Why are they doing reconnaissance missions on our farm in the middle of nowhere, Alabama? Don't worry about it. Just don't go. Of course, he'd show a couple of people. I think one of our uncles saw it, and it was very interesting. But that went on for years. Everybody wants to think that event stopped in the 90s. I think 92 or whatever. But no, it it carried on. It went for years out there for whatever reason.
Right.
They would talk about it even in the news. If you see special forces out in your yard, please do not shoot them. They're doing training exercises, yada yada. I mean, this was on the news. So
Wow.
it was a thing. And from what I understand, he was personally responsible for making it stop because of that event. Now, when you see that information, you can see from Mr. Oliphant reports on the matter, like how things could progress. Like I mentioned, the black unmarked helicopter, they went and followed all the way to Anniston. So he was there. He was making all those helicopters come out there and do their thing. Things of that nature. Okay, well, I mean, how, like I said in my email, my question is, how would they know to be there? How would they know to even find the helicopter? How would they even know to be on these sites where these things supposedly happen at that night? Like, not even the morning after. How would they know to do that? Well,
Right.
somebody's telling them to go out there. So his partner in the whole thing, Mr. Oliphant's partner, was the chief of police, I'm pretty sure, of Albertville. And when you go to his Facebook page, he died several years ago, and you see a lot of Masonic imagery. And my
All the Freemasons. Okay.
yeah, my grandfather-in-law was also a Master Mason. So I'm not saying that this is how it went down, but it would seem to me like a pretty good extrapolation. If you don't want to actually put your fingerprints on, direct orders of, hey, you guys go to here, you guys do that, you don't want to leave a paper trail, you're going to go through a back channel. It seems 100% logical to me with that connection there. That's that back channel. How else could it have happened? How else could they have known? So, I mean,
Right.
that's,
Another good question is, how was he able to make it all stop? Right.
yeah.
That should tell you volumes about what's going on. And I can tell you, brother, these so-called extraterrestrial aliens are not from outer space.
Oh, yeah.
I do not believe in the existence of alien life. And a lot of people, I surprise them when I say that. But I'm a man of faith, and I believe in what that Bible says. And I also believe in what it doesn't say. So it teaches us so much by what it says, but also we can learn from noticing what it does not say in there, right? And there's not one word written in that Bible about God creating life of any type, humanoid or otherwise, on any other place than Earth.
Right.
So it does tell us what interacts with us as human beings. We angels, demons, and evil spirits. So if we had hundreds of different types of aliens from outer space, quote unquote, all coming to Earth trying to interact with us, that's something that we should know, right?
Right.
Right. So, but there's not one word mentioned in the Bible about any type of life on any other planet than this one. So,
Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what what went down. I don't know what the military was doing. I don't know what the helicopters were doing. I just know that, he was like, I'll fix it. He went and told his folks, and according to everybody in the general area, it stopped. But, I mean, if you go out there, you can rest assured it has not stopped, because that's where I had my experiences at.
Yeah.
I don't I don't like going out there at all when it's nighttime. It absolutely freaks me out, man. I want no part of it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Tell us about your experiences out there.
All right. So my experience out there happens about a year, almost to the date of when my grandfather-in-law, the man that stopped all that earlier, died. So the wife and I are living out there in a FEMA trailer while we're still in college, saving money and all that. And she is fixing to transition to back to day shift, if memory serves correctly. And we're sleeping. It's around 3 something at night, and then all of a sudden, we're both woken up by something. It sounds like it's right there at our window, just going at it. I mean, it's like two coons or something fighting, or something. I mean, it's just a loud, growly, screechy racket going on. And we're just like, what? She's like, I'm trying to sleep. Vic, please go out there and fix whatever's going on. I'm like, okay, because to her, it's the dog. The dog is always out there killing coons and possums and chasing coyotes and just running full. She's a cow dog. She not afraid of nothing. She loves killing for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, I'll go out there. So I walk out there. I'm looking around. Nothing. You know, I walk all over the place. There's just nothing. Eerily silent, not a cricket. I'm like, well, whatever. Guess I handled it. It stopped.
Pretty
So
easy, right?
yeah, pretty easy. So I go back, lay down. She asked me, "Did you get a takeover?" Oh yeah, babe. It's all good. Go to bed. And so we're laying there, fixing to go back off to sleep, and it kicks off again. She's beating on me at this point. Go fix it. Get that dog no matter what it takes. I'm trying to get some sleep. I gotta get some sleep. I'm starting day shift tomorrow. I'm like, all right. I'm sorry. I'm already getting out of bed. You can stop it, and it's all good. So I go out there, find the flashlight, or before I go out there, I find the flashlight, and I'm dead set and determined. I'm not coming back in until I get this handled. I don't know what's going on. And I'm concerned. I don't want my dog to get hurt. I've got a family of raccoons that lives across the driveway from me that hang out with me when I have campfires at night. I don't want none of my animals getting hurt. So I set off, and I'm looking for everything again. Walking around, walked all over the trailer, all over all the buildings and barns that are out there. Even went out in the pasture a good ways. I can't find nothing. So I'm like, wow, what is going on? I'm out there 15, 20 minutes with nothing but a flashlight and my boxers, trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm just, I give up. I'm like, man, there's nothing. There's nothing out here. There's no sound from anything anywhere for me to even begin to follow. So I'm giving up again. And I'm walking back to the trailer, and like I said in the email, I don't know why I did it, and to this day I wish I did not do it. But when I turned to go in, I shined my flashlight up the driveway. Hold on, back up. I notice as I'm going in that there's a light above the tree line. It looks like it's a couple 100 feet above the trees. From my perspective, it's about, I don't know, baseball to softball size. And I know all the stories of what went down. And I know that I don't want any part of whatever that is. I even say that out loud. I'm just talking to myself, trying to calm myself down. I don't want no part of this. Get in the house. And then I turned and showing the flashlight up the driveway. And so at the end of the driveway is a figure standing, and it, it it's blacker than black, and it's haunting. So I'm sorry, everybody, that I'm breezing up on y'all. It's
Okay, man.
Now, granted, I don't have the brightest flashlight in the world. It's a floodlight, not a spotlight, but it's a really good quality one LED, and it's lighting up everything around this thing that's standing at the end of my driveway, to the point where, I mean, I can see everything lit up around it enough to be able to make out this thing's entire shape in its entirety. But the thing is all black, and it's almost as if it's absorbing the light. I can't see facial features or anything like that, but I mean, I see its entire outline. And as I described it, I mean, I would say, basically picture or Google a tall gray. All right, that would probably give you the best general understanding of what I'm seeing. It's got a larger head, but not like all of us are comical. I mean, it's slightly larger.
Yeah.
It's got a pointed chin, I can tell that, and a very long neck. And as that goes down, I can see the shoulders. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just doing my best to paint the picture for everybody to try to
You're
understand.
doing fine. Yeah. Keep going.
So the shoulders are very flat, and by the way the shoulders interact with the chest, followed down to the stomach area, it's very triangular, very angular, and this thing is very skinny. Um, as that goes down, it goes to the stomach area of it. This thing is thin. I mean, super, super thin, and just emaciated, I guess. I mean, it, it it looks like it has no organs. I don't see how it possibly could, being that skinny. I mean, I feel like I can wrap my hands around it. I mean, it's almost like somebody took a spine and just stretched skin over it, right?
Yeah.
We go back up to the arms, very long, very, very, very long. The tips of the fingers, were hanging down well past the knees. I mean, it's like comically long arms at this point. I remember seeing the fingers every bit of, oh God, 10, 12 inches probably. I mean, they're just long, long, long. This thing
Wow.
makes no sense. The arms are very spindly. I mean, there's not any mass on them hardly. When we get down to the pelvis, like I said in the email, and picture a human skeleton, like from your science class or whatever, and then take super black like latex or something and stretch it over that pelvic muscle. I mean, you can see it, the pelvis muscle or bones uh, sticking up. I mean, it looks like a heart, basically. I mean, that's heart shaped. I mean, it's just skin stretched over that bone. And then we got long, long arms or legs. Sorry, very long legs, and like I said, where where our legs end and our ankle starts to go to our foot, there's an extra digit there that juts forward, and then there's foot, and it's very, very reminiscent of an insect.
Yeah.
And large feet. Trying to remember if there's any other good detail. No, all right, so
How
that's
tall? How tall was it, Fisher? Can you guesstimate?
so my guesstimation is anywhere from 7 to 8 foot tall. Now, like as I said, in my defense, I know what everybody says about memory and how fallible it is, okay? But understand that at that time, I had worked at a very large restaurant in our area, and one of my best friends is 6'9". The distance that this thing is away from me is a distance that I am very well aware of seeing what my friend looks like at this distance when I'm at work, who I see all the time every day. So, and he's 6'9", taller in boots, I would imagine. So I am very confident in my guess at this thing's height.
Yeah.
So, And
So it was not a definitely not a Bigfoot, a typical Bigfoot.
no, no,
So
no,
did you notice any ears on the head?
no, nope,
Okay, no tail.
no tail,
Okay,
no.
do you think this thing came from the unexplained light that you've just seen?
I mean, when I say 2 + 2 = 4, I mean,
Right.
imagine, you know,
The dots are there. All you have to do is connect them, right?
yeah, I mean, it's like right there above its head, practically, and it's standing right there. Like, and so, anyways, this is what I'm seeing at the end of my driveway, and I'm just frozen in fear, and I've just got the light on it, and it's not really paying attention to me, but all of a sudden it turns its head and looks, and it makes a facial feature of surprise, like, oh no, it sees me. And the only reason that I can tell that is because its eyes are reflecting the light entirely. And I'm not talking about like just the pupils, tapetum lucidum, whatever, the specifics of those organs in the eyes. I mean, it's like it's got a covering over its entire eye, is what it seems to me, because its entire eye is reflecting back my white light, and I can see its eyebrows raise in surprise, like, oh crap, this thing sees me, and it turns and runs up the road. And from my vantage point, I can only see about 200 feet up the road, but I mean, it covers that distance in a blink of an eye. I mean, I remember it's just boom, boom, boom with the steps, and then it's gone. It covers that entire distance.
And possibly fast, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just like panning with my light basically as fast as I can, watching that thing go. So I'm watching it the entire time until I can no longer see, and my trance of stillness is broken, and then I'm freaked out. And I run back in the trailer, and I am just having a come apart, y'all. I mean, I'm just falling apart, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what you're supposed to do in the situation. I grab my Beretta, chamber around, and I'm just standing there in front of the door, pointing it, just waiting, just waiting for anything. I don't know if it's going to come get me or whatnot. I don't know. I don't care. If I hear a noise, I am unloading everything into the walls at this thing, at the noise. Thank God my wife does not snore,
Right.
because she might not have made it that night. But yeah, I mean, I stood there and stood there and stood there, just scared out of my mind. And I think it was maybe 15, 20 minutes that passed. And then suddenly and inexplicably, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it is. I just know that it was mind speak that came into my head, or what we call mind speak.
Mhm.
The voice was very um, androgynous. I mean, there wasn't really no clear distinction of male or female from the way that we understand it. But it's in the center of my head is the best way I can describe it, and yet it feels like it's also coming from all around me. And this voice tells me, if I wanted to kill you, you would already be dead. Go back to sleep now. And guys, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. For whatever reason, I'm basically zombified, turned to a robot, whatever, however you want to describe it. But I have no control of my body. I, disengage the mag and the pistol, rack the slide, take the bullet out, put everything down, and just walk to the bed, get in bed, lay down, and then I'm out like a light. I have
Yeah.
zero control of the situation, and I remember it very vividly. I mean, like my presence of mind was there, and I'm screaming at myself, "Stop! Stop! Stop! You cannot listen to this thing. You have to protect your family." And I have no control. and it's too fast. I mean, there's no time to really think much beyond stop, you know. And I'm out like a light, out like a light, you
Well,
know.
so this thing, whatever it was, this alien, uh, looked like skin stretched over bone. It's a very atypical description of alien, but he used some type of mind control on you. That's what happened.
Yep.
And I've got so many reports of these Inhumanoids doing the same thing. Funny how aliens can do the same thing as Bigfoot, right? Bigfoot can make you lay down and go to sleep right on the trail when it's walking up and you're scared to death, right? But it can somehow make you do that, and that's what this thing did to you.
Exactly right. That is
Well,
exactly
we've been hearing a lot of stories about people encountering something and then they're just able to lay down and go to sleep
Yeah.
afterwards.
Right? That's
You know, that
that's
I think
the
that happened with Brandy actually.
right. Hollywood, is that right?
It is right. I had my the encounter, which was at about 20 feet, and after it was over, I waited for any more footsteps or if I could hear it anymore. And as soon as I couldn't hear it anymore, it was like an adrenaline dump. I was done.
I was the same
Totally
way
gone.
because same way that night. Like I couldn't go to sleep. I was laying there, I was freaking out, and then as soon as it was gone, done.
We're done.
right.
Wow.
So all you Bigfoot hunters out there, uh, tell us all how you're going to capture a creature that can make you fall right to sleep. Right? You can't shoot it if you can't pull the trigger. You can't do anything if you're unable to move. So these things are demonic in nature, and you cannot fight these things unless you know Jesus Christ and you have Jesus in your life, and He can do the fighting for you. He's the only name under heaven that can have any effect on these inhumanoid creatures at all. Guns don't seem to have any effect. Um, I've taken report after report and seen it happen myself. People unloading into these creatures, and they don't even act like they acknowledge bullets are hitting them, right? But when you say the name of Jesus or Yeshua, then they turn around and retreat. They're very strange, and it's a very telling as to the origin of what these things truly are.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree, Fisher?
Oh yes. Oh
So
yes.
you are, what religious denomination are you, if any?
Obviously, I'm a Christian. I
Right.
grew up Pentecostal, so yep. Of course, at that time of my life, I wasn't very strong in my faith anymore. I was at that rebellious age. I was, I don't know, mid 20s. I just wanted to run and gun and party. So, that was always a background for me. I was
Mhm.
obviously aware of everything I'd learned growing up and experienced plenty. If you want me to get into some of my past experiences, I can later.
Sure, that's what we're here for. I would like for you to tell us about your experiences with demons. Now, you wrote a couple things in that email about you actually getting to witness a uh, demonic exorcisms. So tell us about that, Fisher.
Yeah, well, I've witnessed far more than I wrote about. It's kind of normal for
Right?
us in that type of a denomination seeing those things. But the two notable ones that I had mentioned in there would probably be the best, I think, for this particular conversation. And the first one was, a friend of mine. I don't really remember the events that like kind of led up to it and everything, but suffice it to say, yeah, she was apparently demon possessed. We all knew it, and we went to perform an exorcism on her and get those suckers out of there. And I remember, holding her down as we started praying because she started just freaking out, kicking and screaming and cussing us all in a voice that was not her own. And I mean, at that time, I was very much in shape, guys. I mean, I did years and years and years of martial arts. I was not a slouch at all, and she was tossing me around like a rag doll. I mean, there is no way that she should be able to do that to me.
Right.
And as it goes on, they start casting them out. And she starts throwing up into napkins as they come out. And I saw it. It was a black goo that she was throwing up. And I think that went on about 10 times that happened. It was just black tar-like substance. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that's smoker's lung, from what I saw. But
Yeah. Definitely not.
but anyways, that all goes down. Everything's good to go. She's crying. She's so thankful. Feels free, and everything's great. Glory to God. And they take the napkins outside into the parking lot and burn them. And I wasn't there for that because I was a very good friend of hers, and I was trying to help console her and all that. But my other friend uh, was the one that was tasked with doing that. And he told me, he said, "Man, when I caught those things on fire, first they didn't want to burn, but eventually they did. You hold fire enough to paper long enough, it's going to burn."
Yeah.
But he said, the flames that were coming off of that were just purples and greens, and it sounded to him like they were screaming while he was
Wow.
on fire. So, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So she actually threw up the demons into napkins,
Hmm.
and they burned the napkins, and the napkins started screaming as they burned.
That is correct.
That's,
I have a question.
Sure.
How old was this person? Like, and then how did this person get possessed?
Okay. If I remember correctly, I would say she was probably 16. How was she possessed is a good story. I mean, I wasn't there for that. I don't really know.
I was
Um,
just wondering if she was dabbling in it, or a lot of teenagers do that and not realize what they're playing with.
yeah. Um, what I would say is, yeah, I would say that she was probably dabbling in it. Whether she started out or it was no fault of her own, I don't know. I mean, she kind of came from a broken home. I mean, really, she was only at church because I think at that time she was dating a friend of mine. And that's how I got to know her. I got to be friends with her. And of course, after her experience, she was quite the regular. She was.
Mhm.
Night
Gotcha.
Watchman 55. So, and to everyone else, hello. I forgot to say hello to everyone in the chat. So, hello to all you guys. We appreciate you being here. Night Watchman 55. If you or anyone else has any true encounters with things like Fisher's talking about, please email me at humanoidencounters@gmail.com, because after the show is over, the StreamYard does not allow me to access the chat. So I do not get to read the chat, okay? So keep that in mind, guys. If you want to email me, inhumanoidencounters@gmail.com.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Fisher. Sorry to interrupt like that.
Oh no, you're good. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I didn't say hi too.
A
So,
lot of good people in the chat room tonight, and we appreciate y'all's support so much.
Absolutely.
all right. So, next demon possession story that's worthy of telling happened to me, or well, I mean, around me. It was actually to an ex-girlfriend of mine. So, and I can definitely attest. There's a lot of broken home type situation there, and a lot of hurt and pain in her life. And I met her through a friend of mine that was a pastor's kid. This was like her best friend or whatever. But anyways, we met. We were dating for a long time. It ended up becoming like an off and on kind of thing. But one of the on times, she was there for a youth service that I remember. And I remember it was at the end of everything, after altar call, after everything was kind of, wrapping up, and we're just sitting there kind of chatting with everybody. And she said something to me, and I didn't quite hear, and I turned to look at her, and I was like, "What?" And as she was looking at me, her eyes changed. She has she has very dark brown eyes normally, and then all of a sudden they just turn in an instant to like ice blue, like picture whatever cheesy vampire movie or something like that color blue,
Wow.
and they have vertical pupils, and I'm just like, huh?
Like a
and
snake's eyes.
like a snake's or a cat's, whatever. And she looks at me and she just gets that Cheshire cat grin on her face, and gets that confused cat look and cocks her head with that smile and grin, and is like, "How are you feeling?" And I'm just like, freaked out, freaked out. I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what is happening?" And one of the youth leaders, saw it, knew exactly what was going down, because I'm just like backing up because I'm freaked out.
Right.
Even I probably shouldn't be by this point, but it was, yeah, I was. And she goes, "All right, everybody, guys, I'm gonna need y'all to leave. Girls, stay behind. We're fixing to deal with some demons." You know, and I like finish backing up. I back out, and I turn and look, and she was, on all fours at the very opposite end of the youth area, and she was crawling in between the drum set and the wall, is what I recall. And her features had just completely changed. I mean, she looked like a cat. It's the best way I know to describe it,
Wow.
because she was walking very fluidly on all fours, not like when she, not like us doing bear crawls or something silly. No, I mean, this was very fluid motion. And the thing that freaked me out the most that I remember is that her shoulder blades looked like they had completely dislocated and were sticking straight up. Think of like a cheetah or something on Nat Geo when they walk and you see the shoulder blades just going, little triangles moving. That's exactly what hers were doing as she walked away. And
Wow,
yeah,
that's creepy.
freaky stuff. But, everything ended up being all right. She ended up being a pretty good person, generally speaking, after that. So yeah,
Well, that's good to know.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, there's those experiences, man.
Yeah. Tell us something you didn't put in that email, if you don't mind.
Something that I didn't put in the email.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I'll give you your choice. I've got some details from the very last. How would you describe that? Visitation mentally in my mind during a dream from the alien that I interacted with first on my first CE5 stuff. I could go into the E5 stuff if you
Yes. Let's go into the CE5 stuff, Fisher.
or I can also tell you a cryptid story that I'm pretty sure is.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's do the cryptid story after you tell everybody about the CE5
Okay.
lie, the deception of the close
All right.
encounters of the fifth kind.
That's right.
Thank you, Missy.
All right,
Yes.
guys, let me give everyone in chat a disclaimer. Do not pursue anything to do with CE5. I'm telling you, it is a mistake. At that time in my life, like I said, I was pretty rebellious at that time and going through a phase, right? And this stuff had always just been an interest to me. Bigfoot, aliens, yada yada. I mean, it was always so intriguing to me. And then YouTube's a bigger deal and all that, so I'm kind of starting to go down these rabbit holes and figuring out, about these stories. And I come across Stephen Greer, and he starts talking about the C5. I actually found it through Joe Rogan podcast, which made me want to check him out. So I did. And I find, like his a video from him that's basically like a guided meditation to do and initiate CE5 contact with these beings. So I'm like, all right, let's try it. See if there's anything to it. So I do. And I find, that for whatever reason for me, astral projection or whatever you want to call it, for me was pretty easy. However, I felt during that first moment that I could not leave the atmosphere until Stephen stopped talking in that video. I think it was like 15, 20 minutes long.
So it's like a video that you listen to that allows you to go into a trance-like state. Is that what you're talking about here, with
Yes.
Stephen Greer?
There's a lot of people are asking what is a CE5.
Right. Close encounters of the fifth kind.
See, CE5 is kind of like you don't need the video, although Stephen Greer does have the videos out to do. It's more like a meditative state, and you're meditating, but you're opening your mind to like asking these beings from outer space to come in and communicate. It's a form of communication with them. It's what it is.
Right.
Mhm.
So, but basically, like I felt that I could do it, but I could not get as far out as I wanted to until the music that was going on and his voice stopped. Once it stopped, I was off like a rocket. I handled it no problem. Um, and I eventually come across what I felt like out there was a ship, and I go in, talk to this being, basically. Um, what I remember of it, because it showed itself to me. Basically, if you do a Google image search, you look up. I mean, I guess you could look up reptilian, but truly, it would be more from the Dude, which would be it's a speculative zoology thing, where if the dinosaurs didn't go extinct, the most intelligent dinosaurs they found was called a Troodon, and they kind of like project what it would look like in a couple million years after evolution, and it basically ends up
Mhm.
being like an alien essentially, right?
Right.
So when you do that and you find that thing, that's so similar to what I saw. Okay. Difference is it's way taller than that thing. I mean, it's another good 7-8 foot or so. It's like a gunmetal gray, very dark coloration. Its underbelly though is more of a dusty silvery type color. And after conversation, it shows me a picture of it, or like a male and a female, and the only difference between like size wise in them was that the male had like a orangey red patch underneath his throat. So whatever that's worth, the guys as a detail, that's there. But anyways, start talking to it. I'm asking it all kind of questions, and I remember asking it like about stories that I've heard, on other podcast shows, whatever, about aliens and their encounters and people's abduction stories and stuff like that. I'm like, why is it that I hear good and bad? You know, if you guys are some kind of benevolent space brothers, why is there bad stories? Because up to this time, he was very nice, uh, very jovial almost. I mean, he laughed all the time for whatever reason. It was a very ominous, booming laugh that he had. But anyways, he went on to describe basically, um, you know, good and evil is a very primitive uh, perception to have. What is good for the ant is bad for the human. What is good for the human is bad for the ant. And this is before Avengers, guys. This is before that line that Loki said. But that's what he told me,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, okay, all right. You know, I, and granted, I can't remember everything that was said. For whatever reason, every time I had these experiences, it was only as if I was allowed to remember what they wanted me to remember. And I
Yeah.
remember one of the other questions that I asked him was, about God. And he was like, yeah, of course there's God. How could there not be? You have the evidence all around you. I was like, okay, well, talk to me about it. You know, what are your thoughts on what you guys know? This, on our planet, we had this guy named, and I'm fixing to say Jesus. And right before I say that, he stops me. He just, the mood changes and he just completely stops me, shuts it off. He's like, I don't care to hear your theology. He said, but what I will tell you on that is that if there's somebody on your planet that professed love above all else, it would be a good idea to follow that person. He said, okay. So I took it at that. It's
Yeah.
very strange that thing did not want to hear the name of Jesus, but at the same
Very
time,
telling.
given,
Yeah.
some good advice too. So,
Well, that's what they do,
yeah,
Fisher. They sprinkle bad advice in with good advice, and you take all their advice, right?
right.
But if you'd have said the name Jesus, that thing would have probably fled, or you'd have been kicked out of its presence somehow.
Probably.
And evolution is a lie. The dinosaurs did not evolve. There's not been one single case of any living species evolving into another different species in history of mankind. We have no intermediate or intermediary fossil evidence at all. God, Yahweh God, made mankind in His image as He wanted us, and we will never evolve into another species.
Right.
You don't, yeah, we don't need to listen to any of the spirits. You test the spirits.
That's right.
And how you do that is mention Jesus and His Father Yahweh God. They say,
Right.
well, worship God, but they're not telling you which God, right?
Right.
You have to name them because there are more than one God that people worship here on planet Earth. Unfortunately, we don't all worship the one true, living, eternal God.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, anyways, and I asked about like other things. I was like, this is kind of an interesting thing. I never thought I'd be able to talk to some of you guys. Who should I talk to? And I was asking questions about these species that we hear about. I was like, what about the Greys? And he told me, the Greys are nothing more than like basically a flesh robot. They're just as likely to be an alien that's broadcasted into them as it is a demon that's broadcasted in them. I'm like, oh, okay. So he's like, yeah, just avoid them at all costs. I'm like, okay, I'll avoid them. What about the reptilians? He's like, he said, yeah, they're an inch. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. Obviously, I can't remember everything. So, but
Right.
but the gist of it is, he's like, they're a very interesting bunch. They get a bad rap. He said, but they are very prideful and can be quite hostile quickly. He said, if you ever decided that you want to try to talk to one of them, be very careful. Like, okay. And that's when he mentioned, he said, the mantids or whatever, they're actually a pretty good chat. You should probably try to seek one of them out and talk to one of them. I said, okay. And I remember the last one I asked about was Anunnaki. I said, what about them? And he said, you absolutely will not like them. He said, Greys are bad, but Anunnaki are worse. You absolutely want to avoid them at all costs. So I'm like, that's ominous. And I'm also thinking to myself, I'm probably gonna try that. So, anyways, that's how that went on. And so the next night, I go and I believe um, I decided to try and contact a reptilian because to me they were always the most fascinating story wise. And one of the stories that had really impacted me that I thought was very interesting was the Lacerda files. So I go and I have, I want to contact a reptilian. I specifically want to contact Lacerda. So I try it, and eventually I feel instead of moving up, I'm actually going down, and it feels like underground to me. And I find something, and as soon as I find that presence, it turns and looks at me, but like all of my vision is like blackened inexplicably, and it's just like a bar that I can see above eyes. And I'm like, hey, are you a reptilian? And it, I don't know how because obviously I couldn't see it, but I feel like it just lashed out and hit me. And I went flying back into my body and I just rose straight up. I'm like, what in the world? Did that thing just hit me? I'm not taking no for an answer, so I do it again. And I'm able to contact the same being and I'm like, hey, don't hurt me. I'm just here to ask a question if you can. And he's like, fine, speak. I said, can I speak with the being known as Lacerda? He says, let me see if she's busy. So, granted, I have no idea whatsoever if this thing is the same being in that interview, supposedly interview, whatever. I don't know. It just this being that I could tell was female. Well, I couldn't tell. I could feel because it's still the same line of vision that it is allowing me. I see nothing except for like a line over their face that's just showing their eyes and the bridge of their nose. That's all I could see. And so she identified herself as the Sarah. I said, okay. So I started asking her about that. I said, was this interview real. She didn't really want to answer it directly, but she just basically said it was a mistake. It should have never have happened. I'm like, okay. The rest of the conversation I can't remember with her, but I do know that she basically dismissed me as a hairless monkey and told me just to get away from her now. She was done talking. I'm like, okay. So that's how that interaction went that I remember. The next night, I try and talk to Mantis. I'm like, okay, so he said to go talk to one of these guys. They're pretty nice. I should enjoy it. So I try, and I'm unable to see it just yet, but I'm able to feel it. And I let it know what I'm here to do, and I just want to talk, yada yada. And it basically says, hold on a second, I'm going to change my vision or your vision of me into something that your brain can handle. He's like, because I don't want my actual vision or what I actually look like to terrify you. I'm like, okay, cool. So what I'm seeing now, picture, like I said, Zorak from Space Ghost, right? Picture essentially that, but the coloring is like that of Kamacuras, the kaiju that's from Godzilla from the 60s. It's, very orangey and, and dark reds and blacks, basically. Its eyes are just, big old orange globes, it's thousands of eyes or whatever, just like a mantis would. Forget the name of that at the current second. And yeah, we proceed to have a conversation. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, I am unable to remember any of it. I remember the amount of time, like I remember experiencing the time talking to it, but I don't remember any of the words from it. It would not let me. I do remember thinking to myself after it was done, though, that you seem pretty nice. Cool. All right, next night, feeling a little bit rebellious. I'm like, all right, well, let's go talk to one of them Anunnaki, see how that goes. So I do, and so this one, I'm able to see it, and I mean, once again, do a Google image search. You'll see like a female or whatever who looks very emaciated. That's probably actually like a runway model, but with red eyes or whatnot. But that's not too far dissimilar from what I was actually seeing. I mean, it's actually a pretty close representation. And once again, I'm not really able or allowed to remember that particular bit of the conversation, like much of it at all. There was only two takeaways from that conversation, or really, well, I have a takeaway from the conversation, but the only thing that I remember from the conversation is her telling me that we created you, we are your gods, and even though I'm rebellious at this point in my life and nowhere near the type of Christian that I should be, I still know enough. And I'm just like, no, you cannot be. You are not our gods, or you are not God. I said, look, it's possible, genetic manipulation, the story, yada yada. It's possible that you guys could have made us. I'm willing to grant you that. I said, but you are not God. There's no way. And she was just not having that. She was very, very upset.
Yeah.
Very upset. And just kept trying to convince me is all I remember. And I'm just like, not having it. And obviously
This was the Anunnaki, right?
do what now?
This was the Anunnaki that you were speaking to, right?
Correct. That was what my intention was to connect with, and that's what she basically said that she was. So I'm just going, and as I say these things, guys, I don't, understand that I don't know. I'm only going by the way I felt during these things, and
Right.
You know-
Sure lied to you, Fisher. That's for sure.
oh yeah, for sure, sure. Even like I said, even at that state, I knew that I could tell, you know. But I remember, that my takeaway from it was that she was just a beautiful liar. I mean, she was great, good to look at, but she was it was just nothing but lies. Is all that I remember.
Yeah.
My impressions, my takeaways after it,
Mhm.
and so I was like, okay. And so it's the next night, and this next night is my event that I had described earlier about seeing the thing at the end of my driveway. The night after my last CE5 session was this. Was, that's what happened. So, like during all these E5 things, I'm questioning myself. I'm like, is this stuff really real? Is my brain not just running away from me and just making this stuff up? How do I know? How do I know? And I don't claim to know anything about meditation. I do not claim to know anything about remote viewing or anything like that. Like I don't know the technical terms. So guys, you know, I'm sorry if I get things wrong, but like my feelings during it was one that for whatever reason it was easy for me to initiate, and that two, I felt the entire time like I was just a battery. Like I could feel my energy levels going down and down and down and down and down, and assuming that nothing, like attacked me and pushed me back into my body, eventually the conversation would end with me falling asleep and me waking up the next day. And like I said, I was questioning it. I'm like, this can't be, is this really real? Is this really going on? And then the event that I described earlier about the thing that I saw at the end of my driveway was the night after my last attempt. So then all of a sudden it's like, it had to be real because why, why on earth is this thing here?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me. So it had to be, it had to be, to, to whatever extent. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have the answers, but
Mhm.
I
And
know.
so after that, your curiosity about these demonic beings it was cured, right?
Yeah, generally, I mean,
Yeah.
I was very shook up after my events. It. I'll admit that it did a lot to my faith. It really, really shook me. And I was just like, not the person that I needed to be. Because I don't know. I don't know. But it just when you have an experience with something that's so real and your brain just literally cannot wrap around it. I mean, your life changes and you
Yeah.
have to figure out how to deal with it. And my my way of dealing with it at that time was just to run away from it. It's all crazy. It's all a bunch of aliens, yada yada. Run away from it. But eventually, and I have more experiences after this, obviously, but what it did set in motion for me, and the good news was, it stirred my curiosity to find out more. To first, like let me hear other stories so that I can see if what I really experienced really did happen. Because I'm still like, am I going crazy? So I want to listen to these other stories, find out the commonalities of them, and see if there's anything out there that matches up. And of course, I do find some that match up pretty good. And you keep digging and digging and digging, and eventually you start to come to the realization that not everybody thinks these things are aliens.
Right.
You know,
Some
somebody,
people know what they really are. Some people
right,
do have the answers.
right,
The
and so
answers are out there. There's only one thing in the universe that the human brain cannot comprehend. We can
right,
comprehend anything, but we
right,
cannot comprehend the mind of Yahweh God.
right.
That's the only
So
thing. We can understand what these aliens are and the inhumanoids are, but you have to be willing to accept the truth, right?
yeah,
You have
and
to
that
be at
that
that
took me
stage
years
in
to
that
do.
point in your life.
It took me years to really accept the truth, but eventually, it's like, okay, these guys are taking like a biblical look at it. I've grown up in this my entire life. Let's go back to our roots. Let's take a look and see what has to say about it. And I can say honestly that that time of tribulation for me, eventually did bring me to the truth that I have now. That yes, these things are not aliens. They're demons. They're Nephilim. They're everything from that realm to the bad, whatever. It's like, I don't know what particular flavor of demon or Nephilim or what have you that they are, but I know that that's
Mhm.
exactly what they are. Because if
Right.
not, then
I would encourage, yes. We
how,
need to encourage other Christians
right,
to actually read their Bible
that's right,
and see what the Bible says about our universe
right,
and what it doesn't say about life on other planets. So if you're a Christian, you call yourself a Christian, you believe in alien life, then somewhere along the line you've made a mistake in uh, your theology there, because there is no mention about any other life
right.
outside of where we're at right now. So,
And see,
and they'll be fooled in the end. There's a great deception coming, Fisher, that
mhm,
I believe is going to fool a lot of people, and it's going to be involving these so-called extraterrestrial
I agree.
entities.
See, so I'm able to make those conclusions for myself is only because my experiences don't stop. I start having more experiences after this first experience at that night, and
Mm.
you would think, it would be normal for like supposed aliens or whatever to start showing up and doing their thing, but no. I mean, yeah, I have a few more interactions with them and all that, but I start having interactions with shadow men, a dog man, all kind of stuff. And these subjects are seemingly unrelated, but what are the chances of somebody having an experience with all these different creatures? It should be astronomical. There's no way that this should be happening.
Right.
If everything is logical in the way that the crypto community looks at things, this should not be happening. I just
Statistically, it should be impossible.
exactly, but it's not, and it happens. Before all this happens, I tell the funny story about what I think is maybe a Bigfoot over there at Athenes. But like that being the one and only paranormal experience that I have, statistically, should have just been it. But no, after I make this contact with these entities, all of a sudden, they're there, and then all these other things start showing up, and it's just like, what is my life? What is going on? And that's how I'm able to make that distinction that the biblical perspective on this is the right one, because anything else, this should not be happening. It wouldn't be possible. So
Right.
that's my thoughts on that. And uh,
So you're right, Fisher. And that's the worst. Even though it's the truth, it's the worst truth that you can share with somebody. They hate to hear that everything's biblical. And they hate to hear that the only two beings at the bottom of that rabbit hole they love to go down and say they're going down a rabbit hole and all this. Two beings at the bottom of that rabbit hole is God and Satan. That's it.
yep,
Everything goes through them that we experience here as unexplained phenomena.
right.
So tell us about your dogman experience, if you don't mind. No, the viewers like to hear about dogmen.
Oh yeah, everybody likes Dogman. Let's see here. This was about 3 years ago. It happened in the summertime, which I'll add as an aside. All of the events, including the one that I had that night, for whatever reason, they all happen at summer, and typically after rain. So take that for whatever. I don't know. Anyways, so I'm at work, listening to podcasts, trying to like learn about this stuff, um, checking out some Dogman shows, and kind of listening to a few stories, and it's very interesting. And I remember at night on our last break, it seemed like it was almost every day for like a week. This dog would come up and hang out with us all during break. Big dog, looked very husky-ish to me, because that's what I used to have. I used to have a husky at one point in time. So I mean,
Hmm.
that's what it was registering to me as. Dog's got a collar on it. It's got the owner's name supposedly, and the number. So we sit there, feed it beef jerky and pet on it, and call the owner, and he comes up there and gets it. And it's like a 14, 15-year-old kid on a bike. And we're like, hey man, here's your dog. He's like, oh yeah, she broke off the leash while we were riding around town. She keeps doing that. You're like, well, you probably better figure something out better, man. And as a little bit of background about the city, you know, there there's a very large occult population there for whatever reason. They're in Arab, Alabama. I can't explain it. I don't know why. I've talked to people that have grown up there, and they're like, yeah, look, they're in their 50s or whatever now, and they're like, man, when we were kids, we'd listen to the Scanners and hear all kind of crazy satanic crap going on in graveyards and stuff like that. And I also work with a few people that are like this, Wiccan or whatever, something occultic affiliated with, and it's not very good. I avoid them people as best I can. But anyways, so this kid comes and gets it, and this happens, like I said, 3, 4, 5 nights. I can't remember the exact. But the last night that it happened, this never happened again. I was coming out of work now, so it's 11:30. I just got off listening to a Dogman podcast, and got my earbuds in, and I'm not really paying attention. I'm just walking to the car. Then all of a sudden, I feel like a pressure change, like something is running, and then all of a sudden I can hear the claws on the pavement, clickety clackety clickety clackety, just booking it towards me. And at this point in time, it's suffice it to say, I've got a little bit of PTSD or something. Like, I'm very jumpy now, and it freaks me out. I jump up in the air and I land in a full karate dance, ready to just try to defend myself from whatever this thing is. I'm ready to go to war. And it was the dog, and I was like, oh, and it veers off away from me, tail tucked, just staring at me the whole time while it's running. And I feel bad because the dog was real sweet. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, girl, come here. I start petting it, when I'm loving on it, telling it I'm sorry. And I feel awful. I'm like, this kid is not taking care of the sweet puppy. Like, I really, really wish I could take it home. But I've got, reservations. We just got a dog ourselves for our little one to have. I don't know how well it would interact with this dog. This dog is, according to the owner, 66% timber wolf or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big dog. I mean, to be just that much, it's pretty big. Like, whatever. I'm like, look, girl, I'm sorry. I'd take you home if I could, but I don't think I can get away with it. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to run back to wherever old Super Edgelord is, riding around town with his wolf dog. It's goofy.
Okay.
And so I get in the car and I start driving through the parking lot. And this thing is just chasing me, and it catches up to me, no problem. And it's just running circles around my car. I'm just feeling awful. I'm like, I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't. So I start driving home. And I'm like, maybe 10 miles, 12 at the most from home. And I'm going down, and I look to my right because I see something over there that's not normally there. And it's underneath this street light. I'm like, what in the world is that? I get closer, and I get closer, and I get closer. And it is a dog man sitting there at this fence to this house. And it's looking over the fence. They keep sheep and goats and whatnot in there. And I'm just blown away because, I'm still listening to this podcast about Dogman. I'm just like, and it's full on in the headlights and underneath the street lamp. I can see every single detail of this creature. And I'm just yelling like, come on. Are you serious? This cannot be happening. I'm literally, what's happening? This can't be real. But sure enough, it is. It's right there. And like I said, detail wise, this fence is every bit of 5 feet tall. And as it's sitting, the fence is only coming up to like maybe the very beginning of its neck as it's sitting down. So this thing's got to be pretty tall. Now it's not built like a bodybuilder like you typically hear. It's not no emaciated slouch or anything. It's well built proportion wise. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be big, and I'm just like, what is happening right now? Is this like a chicken or egg type situation? What's going on? Is it because I'm
Right.
listening to it that it's there? Is this thing, you know, just normally out and about in this area? I don't know, and I'm just confused by it. But after I drove past it, and my brain was fully able to like wrap around what I saw, it dawned on me the exact coloration of this creature was the exact same as the wolf dog. Like it's identical. Its proportions are obviously different because it doesn't look like a wolf, like a
Right.
normal typical wolf like this thing did. But the coloring is the same. And I don't know also how to explain this. I couldn't see like breasts or anything, but the overwhelming feeling that I got from it was that it was female. I
Hey,
was
real
like,
quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but
yeah,
I've got to bail. So you guys got this?
Yep, we got it. And
I
we'll
just
be
want
off
everybody.
everybody to come over to your channel.
Yep. I got to get ready for our stuff. But
Yep.
Fisher,
We got to go,
Sam,
everybody.
you have
Bye,
some great
Coach.
encounters, and I was glad to meet you.
thank
And
you.
I hope to see you come back on Bart's show again for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll
That
get
sounds
off in time.
All
You're
right.
good.
Bye,
You're good. Take your
everybody.
time. You got a great show going on.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
But yeah. So, anyways, that
So this dog man's head. Fisher, did it have the long ears on the top of its head?
yeah. So, head wise, like I said in the email, the best thing that I've seen that comes close to it is the white lichen from the Underworld series, the Corvinus line, the original werewolf. So think of that.
So many people tell me that
Yeah,
the Underworld series, the Wolf Man or the Dog Man that they've seen, the closest thing they've ever seen is from that movie.
yes, and I'm not, now granted, I'm not talking about like the little silver ones that you see that are the modern day werewolves or whatever, how the story goes. It's not that. No, look at the original one where it's very, very bestial and wolf like.
Mhm.
It looks very similar to that. Head wise. I noticed the head is larger and for strangely a little bit disproportionately big for the body. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, it's got like a slight mane thing kind of going on, but not like crazy. Um, its snout is very long, and I can see the wrinkles in it very clearly. Um,
Mhm.
Ears on it are not not at all like what you typically hear about like being knife-like or wolf-like, straight up just triangles. No, I mean it looks exactly like a German Shepherd's ears. I mean, its face is a shepherd like a little bit, you know, but
Yeah.
very, very wolf-like. But it's just those ears, man. Those ears are not wolf at all. And I described the coloration to you. It's like got like a silver stripe all the way up and down its back,
Mhm.
and that kind of fades gradually into like a blondish color, and then that fades all the way into like a white belly. It's like I said, it is kind of very reminiscent of like German Shepherd, sort of. I mean, not exactly the color wise, very reminiscent color wise, though, of like maybe like a jackal or something of that nature. But I mean, the blondness isn't like blonde blonde. It's like a mix between blonde and like dirty piss white, I guess is the best way I know how to describe it. And yeah, but I mean,
Did
like
you
I
feel
said,
intimidated? Was it threatening or?
um, I mean, it definitely had like a presence about it that you could feel, but I mean, I didn't feel threatened by it. I just kept on driving, but you know, it caught me off guard.
Yeah.
It caught me off guard because that's just the coloration and the experience with the dog that night, and listening to it right then, and like the atmosphere is just crazy and perfect for it, for me to be freaked out by it. So I don't take what you want from it. I don't know. Was that the dog? I don't know. But at the same time, how could I deny that it was not because it looks exactly like it? I mean, it's exact. The coloring is exact. And that thing, for all intents and purposes, wanted to get in the car with me and come home.
Yeah.
And another strange detail about that now, we go back a week prior, okay? So a week prior to that happening, also here on my property at home, I'm sitting here on the back porch talking with my grandmother, and she was like, "Hey, have you seen that big thing walking out there in the tree line?" I'm like, "Big thing? What are you talking about?" She said, "There's a big old hairy something. I think it's a bear walking around back there." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Grandma, there's no bears in this part of the state. There hasn't been in like 50, 60 years. They're extinct here." She's like, "Well, what else can be that big, be that tall, covered in hair, and has a snout walking around back there?" Like, on two legs? Yeah, the whole time, two legs. I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was a bear. Hope it was a bear, but the description that you just gave me tells me that it is not. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's weird. That's a little weird
Okay.
detail.
So, Fisher brother, I know you got so much more to say, and but I want you to talk about the Bigfoot. What you thought was Bigfoot down on Matheny's Bridge that night you and your buddy was down there.
All right.
Talk
So
about that if you don't mind.
yeah, man. So we'll back up. This is my teenage years, 16, 17. My friend and I are on the way back from something, and we're going by, we're going down that area, Macedonia and all that out there, and we're fixing to go by or go across Matheny's Bridge, and he's got a pig, and he can't hold it. I'm like, all right, man. I said, well, we'll pull over here right before we get to the bridge. This is desolation. There's no traffic out here. Whatever time o'clock it was, 2 or 3 in the morning. So there's nothing out here. Should be pretty good. All right, man. So we pull over. He gets out and he goes take a leak back there at the back of the car. And just to mess with him because I'm a jerk sometimes, especially at that age, I start tapping the brakes. Light him up. He's like, "Quit, dude, quit." I'm like, "Ha ha, look at you. Quit it, dude, quit it." And all of a sudden he starts screaming. I'm like, "What in the world?" He's just screaming bloody murder. I mean, and he's hopping sideways, crab hopping or whatever, back to the car. And I'm just like looking at him like, "What is wrong with you, you psycho?" He jumps in the car and he's screaming, "Go, go!" And I'm like, "What is wrong?" He's laugh and go. And, starts grabbing my hand to start putting and driving and everything. I'm like, okay, 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 okay. We're going, we're going, we're going. And he's still just screaming and screaming and screaming. I'm like, "Dude, what is wrong with you, man?" And he finally calms down enough, catches his breath enough to, answer. And he's like, "Two things. One, I've zipped myself up in the zipper and I'm bleeding out everywhere."
Mm.
That's terrible. That's like the worst part of this story.
I know, it's the comedic relief, right? Yeah, he's got blood just
And every guy out there in the chat knows what we're talking about, I'm sure.
yeah, he's just seeping through.
Ladies, not so much.
Terrible. I'm just like, oh my god. I'm like, dude, what? He's like, and secondly, he's like, you started tapping your brakes, and I looked up, and suddenly in front of me, there's something that's way, way taller and bigger than me standing right in front of me. And every time you touch your brakes, it lights its eyes up red with your brake lights. So yeah,
Wow.
that's what he said. I was like, well, what was it? He's like, I don't know, Sasquatch or something. Or he's originally from Michigan, so for him it's Sam Squatch or something stupid. But yeah, that's this Bigfoot by proxy story.
Right.
Go for
Yeah.
some questions.
Yes, let's if anybody has questions for Fisher.
I've got some started right here.
All right, let's if you don't mind, Fisher, I know you have a lot more to say, brother, but the audience is wanting to ask you some questions if you don't mind.
Hey, man, we leave a little bit of meat in the bone. That means I can come back for another episode, right?
Right,
Right.
you sure can, because
We,
we've only barely scratched the surface here.
we have to
I
be
know.
the ones and booze. So, okay, let me go to my comments here. Let me see if I
Thank you,
got-
Hawk. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate everyone who donates.
War Criminal 7 wants to know what level of Mason was your grandfather?
Good question. I don't really know exactly because I know there's different rights of it or rights of it. I don't know how to say it. I don't know enough about that stuff. Whether or not he was in the one that goes to just third, or he was in the one that goes to 33, or whether he or not he was in the one that goes supposedly above that. I have no earthly idea. I only know that he claimed to be Master Mason, got as high up as he could go, and that eventually he became very disillusioned with it and wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Because when I knew him, because granted, there's all those stories out there about them and what they do, what they get up to. I don't know. I've pressed him on it, and he's always gets real mad and says no.
Yeah, they don't like to talk about it much, do they?
Yeah, no, he wouldn't talk about that, and he wouldn't talk about war. How he was able to become so high up that he was. And so I really don't know, man. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
Ferocian wants to know, Ferocian, sorry. When did the mutilations stop, and did you get any men in black visits?
Hmm. I know that the mutilations happened before it stopped. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was 90 or 91 is when they technically stopped on their farm, and then her her father, my father-in-law, had that experience, and then after that, it was just all black helicopters. There was never any more mutilations on our property. That's not to say that uh, more didn't happen in other people's places. I don't know. Mr. Oliphant's website would have probably more details on that. However much you want to trust that is on you.
Right.
This one's for Bart. Are you familiar with Tim Albino?
Tim Albino, no, I don't think I am, Melissa. Doesn't ring any bells. I don't follow many other people, right? I'm more like a lone wolf. I've been up here doing basically by myself for 40
Oh,
years. But in the
uh,
last couple of years, I've met a lot of great people, and I have my
do you want me to answer
family
the
has
second
been
part of that
extended.
real quick, Barton?
Sure.
Okay, because I had a thought. I never had any MIB experiences that I know about, except for maybe one.
Hmm.
And the one would be the grandfather. Because when I say that, what he did after he got out of the Korean War, he would never speak about. Alls we know before he got assigned to be on those bases is that he went all over the world to do, in quotations, nuclear work and would never answer any questions about it. We would make fun of him and bring it up sometimes and be like, you're a retired spook. That's what my uncle would say, you're a retired spook. And I'd tell him, I said, you're retired MIB, ain't you? And he would just kind of get mad for a second, then smile. And be like, you're not far
Really?
wrong.
Mhm.
You're not far wrong. So take that for whatever you want to, man. I don't know.
You can read that one
Yeah. Has there been thousands and thousands of reports of the Greys?
from the Queen of.
Yes, from Queen of Ashin. Yes, there have been probably 10,000 reports, but the Greys weren't uh, always the most prevalent that people reported, back decades ago. We
Right.
had lots of different types of aliens, lots of different kinds of UFOs. But here lately, it seems to be that the Greys are the most experienced, right? People see
Mhm.
those more than they do the Nordic types or the reptilian or the insectoid types. But yeah, tens of thousands of reports at least, and probably a lot more than that that have gone unreported.
Head of what there?
Aleph Prime, did he say what the head looked like? What head are you talking about, Aleph? The dog
I
man?
think he's talking about the one with the black skin.
Oh, the alien? Inquisitions. Yeah, I mean, I said it was larger, bulbous E, but not like what you see on TV or people talk about. Not like that. I mean, it was bigger, yes, kind of round, yes, but no wraparound eyes. But they were definitely almond shaped for sure until it gave me that surprise look, and then it was just like almost circular. I mean, just look at yourself in the mirror and make the oh crap look, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Bigger head, pointed chin, but I mean that's really high cheekbones, stuff like that. But I mean, not exactly what you see in movies or TV shows or what have you. But yeah.
Okay, so thank you, buddy. So, fellow Inhumanoid witness Sheldon, and he asked, does Fisher have any post-traumatic stress disorder from all these experiences?
Hmm. Um. Well, I would say yes, and I've not been officially diagnosed, mostly because I do not want that on my record. However, yes, I'm very familiar with what it is. I understand that it is scarring in the brain that is brought on by trauma. Now, the wife's father, who experienced the light thing, he has a doctorate in psychology. And, when he and I discussed it, and I told him, like how I act now and things like that of that nature. And he's like, I don't even need to ask for you. He's like, look, I know that you definitely have it. You're describing it to a T. Now, granted, I, I don't really like to claim it because, to me, that's more of, I mean, I guess in my mind, that's more of like a military thing. And I
Yeah.
do not have that distinction or honor. So personally, I don't exactly feel comfortable claiming it. But, you know, I'm told I do. So I don't know, guys.
Spilling tea with Spunky Sparky. I wonder if they allow people to do it so they can suck the energy from the people doing it. What do you think?
Right. Well, the humanoids that I've encountered, I'm like Fisher. We can only go by what we've experienced ourselves and know to be true. Everything else is just a story from someone, right? Where you either believe it or you don't believe it. That's your opinion. But the humanoids that I've experienced seemed as if they fed on fear. That was their main goal, was to make everyone as scared as possible, in which they did a real good job of that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly attest by the level and amount of fear that I had. But I mean, if that's what they feed on, they did do a pretty good job of it because it's the
they've been
fear that I've ever
feasters.
experienced.
Right, me too. And I had one of these things crawl up into bed with me one night, and it was the scariest moment of my life. And I've been through a lot, and I've seen a lot, uh, but that was definitely the scariest moment of my life.
For sure.
As the guest repented, Lee Tracker Egan specifically closed those doorways opened.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you don't find Jesus after experiences like this, once again, then
Right.
you're doing it wrong, brother.
So you never will.
And we have one more question. Have you ever seen the dog or dog man again?
Nope, I sure have not.
Okay.
Wow, so it just disappeared from the neighborhood after that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess so. I mean, as I said in the email, I followed up with my basically adopted brother because he only lives like across the street and maybe 2 doors up from there. I'm like, man, has there been anything going on over there? Because I talked to him about it, and he was like, no, not that I've like noticed. He said, but during the summer months of what you're describing, he said, the police got called over there a bunch in the middle of the night. He said, but I mean, I personally haven't seen anything, so I don't know.
All right. Well, we're going to thank everybody now and go ahead and close the show.
Yes, so to everyone who donated tonight, thank you so much.
Okay. We're going to say thank you to Hawk. We appreciate it, Hawk, very much.
You do, Brother Hawk. Can't wait to meet you in the LBL soon.
All right. ND Southpaw, thank you so much.
Thanks, MD. It looks like, so as of right now, it looks like 100% chance of you and I going out and doing a live investigation this spring. So thank you so much.
Sue G, thank you so much for gifting 10 humanoid memberships. We appreciate that. You're always there, and you may be with us too.
Right?
And T2E. T2E. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
T2E.
We appreciate it so much,
We
guys.
appreciate all of you, all of your support, and everyone who supports us. We're just so grateful, and we're grateful to anyone who contributes to this channel, like Mr. Fisher here. You guys are the best. You know, I never believed that we would ever be successful at all in this venture because I had no aspirations of ever coming onto YouTube and speaking to everyone personally. I'm a writer. You know, writers usually they write. They don't do stuff like this. But this is where the good Lord wants me, and this is where I am. So I'm here to tell the truth and to bring you people like Fisher, who's also experienced these things and know the facts of the matter. Right? We don't want to blow smoke up anybody's backside. We want to tell you the truth about God, Yahweh God, Jesus, the true nature of these aliens and inhumanoids, the true demonic nature. And we don't want anyone deceived when the time comes. If you wake up one morning and the sky is filled with UFOs and flying saucers, please do not believe they are aliens from outer space.
Could I
The
add
Bible
something?
tells us what is above the firmament, and you need to. If you're a Christian, you have this in your mind that you believe what the science says about our universe. You need to read what God says about the universe. Right? He says there's only water above that firmament and water below the earth. So I'm just a messenger. I'm here to tell you the truth. So please be careful what you believe, because belief is the second most powerful force in the universe aside from Yahweh God. Belief can create realities by itself. Please be careful what you allow yourself to believe. And if you don't believe me, and I don't blame you if you don't, please look it up in your Bible. Right? I'm just telling you what's there, and I'm not trying to hide anything or sugarcoat anything. That's what the Bible says.
Thank you, Liberty. We appreciate you.
Yes, thanks. For the Shasta Fund, are you kidding me, Liberty?
Heck yeah.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And thank you for your sense of humor, because you'll never see any Shasta in this house.
Mr. Nunley, do you mind if I add something to your last comment real quick?
Of course not.
Okay. You know, I just want to let you guys all know out there in chat that it was because my research on the subject led me eventually to find Bart Nunley, you know, Josh Turner, and people that would act, and Tony Merkel, people that would come from a biblical perspective on this stuff. It is because that I found these people here that it made me consider even, you know, taking a look back at the biblical perspective. You know, and I can honestly attest that it's these people's influences that made me understand and come to the realization finally that the truth is in the Bible. It is because of you guys and your influence that I was able to actually consider it once again and come back to the truth and find God. So
Well, that humbles me, Fisher, and it makes me think that I'm not wasting my time up here and that I'm actually making a difference. You know, I've been doing this for 40 years now, and there was a time when it felt like I was not making any difference at all. Standing by myself on the rooftops, preaching the truth. So, like I say, the truth is the most unpopular thing that you can offer someone. And I'm so glad, thank the good Lord, that I have influenced some people and made a difference in some people's lives. And
oh yes,
it just makes me feel really good. Thanks for saying that, brother.
no problem, man. It's the truth.
Okay,
Hey guys,
guys.
we're going to close the show tonight. We appreciate everybody being
Yeah.
here. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your donations, your comments, questions. Fisher Spam, thank you so much for being here. You was an awesome guest.
Yes, he sure
And
was. And
maybe-
thank your wife, Fisher, for talking you into this. Sometimes we need to listen to our wives a little more often, right?
Happy wife, happy life.
We will see everybody later.
Y'all have a good night. Please go over to either Josh Turner's PRT, Paranormal Roundtable live stream, or
As soon,
Blondes and Booze.
as soon as you leave here, go straight over to Blondes and Booze. They will be on at 8 o'clock. We have 3 minutes before showtime. So
Please go support them. And, we all need to stick together until next time, which will be Wednesday night. Mr. T is supposed to make his return. Until then, y'all stay safe. Remember, don't be scared, be prepared, and God bless all of you.
God bless.
Good night.
Good night.
Night all.